Hey, what's going on, YouTube? EXO coming at you here with a little video of my Losi RC car. You guys haven't seen this yet because, well, it needs some TLC right out of the box. Say it ain't so, but that's what we're working with. The front diff, the center, and the rear diff just needs a little bit of attention before we can get whaling on this thing. So in this video, we're going to be fixing the Losi 3XL-E stock diffs. We're going to shim them and make sure there's no play going down the road, make your road worthy. So if you need help shimming your diffs, this will be easy to apply to many different cases. All right, now let's get this show on the road and first off, explain why this is even important. We have two diffs right here, one which we've already completed with 100K, that's for the rear, and it's got some titanium gears, and this one from the factory, which has no oil in it and has a lot of slop. That's what we're gonna try to fix today. There's a lot of play in these gears. I'll bring it up closer to the camera and give you an example here on these drive cups. See when you pull them apart? Hear that play? We'll be able to fix that by shimming, and also we'll replace the oil and hopefully get rid of some of this grinding. You obviously have heard some sort of rumors going around that these diffs need TLC, because I've noticed doing this a couple times already that they're incorrectly shimmed from the factory. So we're gonna see if we'll need to do the same thing on this side. We actually had to do 2 shims. Let's just do a quick example. I cannot spin this pinion gear. Look at this. I cannot physically spin this. And I'm not exaggerating. Here's this one. Spins nice and easy. But on this one, pinion doesn't spin at all. So something is really, really tight in here. Too tight. So let's go ahead and pull the cover and see what the heck is going on. There we go. So here's the pinion and that ring gear I was telling you about. And look at this. Lo and behold, that shim, see that little tiny shim? In my experience so far, it only works with it on this side. So I don't know why from the factory that is like that. So let's just give a quick before and after. I physically can't turn this gear. Pop it out and see if just replacing the shim onto the other side of the drive cup solves that binding issue. Everything left the same. Be careful in there, and look at that. Now it spins freely. When we upgrade to the better parts, this is a, these are the stock ring gear and the stock pinion, but it comes in titanium. So that's what we're gonna do. So let's put these off to the side because everything's spinning nice right now, but we may need to put another shim in there when we go titanium, and that's what this bag is for. Just in case we need to put another identical shim. Let's take this diff apart. Like we already mentioned before, well, at least with the other ones, there was just a really thin application of grease in there last time, and this is a 6S machine. You would think that there would be some sort of oil. Like we've mentioned, we already did the rear. It's sitting right in front of us. Let's pull this apart, see what we're working with. There's the planetary gear, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Let's pull that out. There's some grease, boys. Frickin' grease lightning. Holy smokes. But better too much than not enough, right? But they still could have packed a little bit more in there. So what I just did was I pulled out all the gears. I pulled out the bottom gear. I pulled out all these. And now we're just gonna pull them apart. Do you notice anything about these little group of parts right here? There are no shims. Absolutely no shims. So that's what this little package over here is for. I have a brand new set of identical gears just so I don't have to clean these all off right now. So these are identical. Don't pay too much mind to these. But these right here are essential to this new kit. Some shims, good old shims, and replace these pins. These pins can be replaced with these HPI Racing 2.5s. We're gonna take 2 of these out and replace them for the top and bottom. See if we can pry this little gasket right up. There we go. Put that over here. And of course, put this over with the things that we're not using, because now we can replace these little guys. Once we pull the pins from the inside, it just pulls out real easily like that. Now, we can replace these little guys. These are the stock drive cups, but they come with HD versions right from Losi on the website, so you might as well go for it while you got it torn apart, and we can start wiping down the insides of this diff cup right here. She's a little bit laced with grease, but we want to put oil in there, so let's just give it a nice little wipe down, and we'll take our new HD drive cup. There she goes. Nice. Here's the next part that we're gonna do. We're gonna be shimming the bottom with these AXIAL 31233s. Before I put these shims in, is put just a little bit of the diff oil on the back of it so it sits real good, and when it turns, it has a nice lubricated backside. So we'll take a little bit of our 200 here, just do a little dab on there, right there. And I'm just gonna rub it around the edges of the washer, of the shim. We're gonna stick over the shaft, like that. Our new HPI pins are gonna go in next. See where the tombstone goes? We're gonna line up our holes so we can fit our pins. It's creating a nice little frictionless barrier on the plastic so you don't melt your freaking plastic. So see how I'm spinning this? It's not spinning the whole thing, and that's good, less friction. So now we can take our Planetary gear just like we did on the shim with diff oil. So that's all lined up, and this will just plop right in. Just kind of rotate it with your thumb and it will pop right in. Next up, we are gonna work with these. We're gonna put everything in dry before we put oil in. We're gonna take our first pin and start assembling with the spacer on the outside. You're gonna wanna make sure that the flat side is pointed in. Next, you're gonna put your first shim on. That's what's gonna be shimming the first gear. And then you're gonna put your first gear on, just like that. And then you're gonna do the exact same thing in reverse order again. Gear, shim, and then tombstone. Make sure that the rounded edge is faced down. And I like to put the notched edge faced up, just for ease of access for the next step. So let's just go ahead and gently shove that down into place. Just like that. Next up, we are going to do the same exact thing we already just did. Tombstone. Shim. Gear. And then gear. Shim. Tombstone. You're gonna line up the notch face down and then place that right on top of the one underneath it. And there she goes, sitting in nice and flush. There's no high rises. See how everything's spinning real nice? Oh yeah, I like the feel of that. I feel comfortable to fill this diff. So I think that's what we're gonna do next with our 200K. We have 100K for the rear, and we have 200 for the front. That'll help with the power distribution and have not so much crazy ballooning up front when one wheel lifts off the ground. We're gonna give a nice, good dab on top and let gravity do the rest. I think that may be a little bit too much, to tell you the truth, but we're gonna see how much gravity pulls this in over about 10 to 15 minutes. It's thick oil, so you need to let it give time to settle. So we'll just set that aside right here on a flat surface, and we will focus our attention into the pinion gear for the diff that has 2 bearings, a spacer, and then a shim. Here's the first bearing, we're gonna pull that off. Here's the spacer, and here's the second bearing. And then right at the tip is a shim, right here. Do that real quick. First goes the shim, second goes the first bearing, spacer, bam, and then other bearing. All right, just charged up my GoPro. Don't know how much of that video was cut off, but we just got the new titanium pinion in there with the nice shim, bearing, spacer, bearing setup. So we're moving on to the gravity set diff, and the oil looks perfect. Get our O-ring out of this little gear, and we're gonna transfer that over into our new gear, and we're gonna slap on the gasket as well. Put the bearing on the gear, bam, put the new HD drive cup through. One more AXIAL shim right on top. Oh, can't forget our little bit of oil on the top. Stick the shim down, put our new hardened pin through and put one more dab on this. And then put that right on here. Feels good to spin it already too, so we are ready. Oh goodness, I had that tip over, but look at that. It's thick enough that it didn't even do that with gravity. We are ready to put this on just like this. Line up our holes. I'm just gonna set these in real quick just to get the position of all of them in. Feeling real good in there. And listen to this, no more slop. Remember in the beginning of the video there was slop on there? Well, no more slop, feels nice and tight. And we are ready to put the last 2 screws in. And you know what? I wish I would have tested to see how much different in weight these gears were, since, you know, everybody loves that titanium is lighter, stronger, and all that. Not too tight, just a little hand crank. And this is our shim for this right here. Now we're gonna do this dry before we put grease in. I've got a little butter knife ready with some grease right here, so I'm gonna plop this in and see what kind of mesh we're working with. That feels pretty dang good. Look at that. That feels pretty good. But you know what? I think that we could make that a little smoother, so we're gonna put a shim on this side right here. Just like this. Gently set it in, don't wanna bend anything. Oh yeah, that feels even smoother. So let's see, there's a little crunch right here though. There's a little spot that gets pretty close. And it is a little tight, a tiny bit tight. So let's go ahead and take one more shim and see how it feels after that, just like this. Oh, look at that. That's much, I think that I like that just a tiny bit better. See how it spins pretty freely right there? I like that. I think I'm gonna leave that again, which is the same way I had this set up. It takes one more shim, so this right here only wanted 1 shim, but the titanium sets, it really looks like 2. Now we're gonna butter up our biscuit. I like to start in the middle and then let the pinion kind of like spread it a little bit. So I'm just gonna go like this and then just spread it around. I'm probably not gonna use this whole glob, just like this. That's pretty well greased. I'm just gonna do one more application just like that. She accepted that grease. I'm gonna put this guy on first, crush her in, and then snap it on the other side so it doesn't harm anything. Just like that. Bam. So that way we didn't crush any shims. Everything's nice and tight, and she's still spinning real freely up here. I can spin this all by hand, and listen to that. Listen to that, you can't even hear it. Oh, it smells, it sounds so good. It's nice and greased up in there. And there we go. Couple hand cranks. And that is 2 titaniums ready for a fresh install. They make these diffs so easy to pull out, so easy. So here's the 100K titanium. Let's wipe off the bottom of this grease and write our new digits. 200K titanium. 200K TI. Nice. And at the beginning of this video, I'll just wipe this grease off real quick. Yeah, we had so much slop like this, and now absolutely none. And when we spun it, we had a lot of nasty grinding noises. Now listen to that tight. Oh yeah, that's a beautiful mesh right there. No noises, and we can spin this by hand very easily. Look at that. That is awesome. Couldn't do that before. It's really slippery, so slippery, but it's all done by hand now. Look at that, such a night and day difference. Clean that off on the end, and I'm feeling great. So there's how you space how you shim your diffs and upgrade to the titanium gear sets, pinion, and the crown or ring gear, whatever you want to call it, HD diff cups, and HPI pins. That is pretty much as you can do in these diffs. besides adding your upgraded oils to your liking. I'm gonna go with this setup, which is gonna be 200 up front, 100 up back. I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, go ahead and slap a like on it. I'm trying to grow this YouTube channel as a hobby/RC channel. So if you enjoyed it, stick around, guys. All these stock parts are going in the bin for another day. And who knows, we may break stuff and come back to these when it comes to time. All right, I'll talk to you next video. This is EXO going to clean some parts. Talk to you then.